Hello, and welcome to season 3 of the Working While Homeschooling podcast, the podcast for workingwhilehomeschooling.com, where our mission is to help homeschooling parents make money, maybe even have a career while continuing to homeschool and without losing their sanity. My name is Julie, and I am your host and resident career coach today. I want to thank you all for joining us and listening in. I hope you're doing well. In today's episode, I will be sharing with you an excerpt from my course, Planning and Organizing Your Entire Homeschool Year. The concept of full year homeschool schedule planning is all about keeping your sanity. Learn how to plan an entire homeschool year all at once. As a working homeschooling mom for 8 years now, I know that even a little bit of pre-planning can save a whole lot of my sanity moving forward. And now for just $35, not only do you receive this 1.5 hour long course, grouping all homeschool planning together not only saves your time and energy, but it lowers your stress in the long term, in addition to help keeping great notes for your evaluation portfolios. My organization and system assists you in keeping to the learning goals you set for each child, and yet opens new doors for creativity and dealing with the unexpected. Check out my course, Planning and Organizing Your Entire Homeschool Year, now just for $35. I look forward to walking you through the steps to organize your entire homeschool year all at once. So thank you for joining in with us today. What you're going to be hearing in today's podcast is a short excerpt from my course, Planning and Organizing Your Entire Homeschool Year at Once. And you will find a link in the show notes.
So first of all, why in the world would I schedule my entire year all at once? What's the point of that? Why aren't we just doing it day by day or week by week? Now, as a working while homeschooling mom, there are a lot of constraints on my time. And so I've had to kind of evolve and adapt to this basically, full planning the year out in advance, kind of honestly as a sanity measure. But even before I started working and homeschooling full time, I did plan my entire homeschool year in advance because I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. It just seemed like one of those things that you're supposed to do. I do happen to have a lot of school teachers in my family, and I know that they always took at least 1 week during the summer to kind of get their classrooms set up, plan out their school year, set up all that paperwork they have to do, make their copies. So I knew that that's kind of what teachers did. So I just assumed this was what you were supposed to do. Now, over time, I've kind of shown you my top 10 list here, some of the reasons that I still continue to do this, some of the reasons I do this now. And number one, I am not a naturally organized person. But when people see what I do and the type of organization I go through and the planning in advance I do, they're like, oh my God, you're so organized. I'm really, really not. I have very much an artsy-fartsy brain, as I like to say. I was an acting major in college, for Pete's sake. I'm not a naturally organized person. That is just not how my brain works. And so this is honestly what you're looking at are my survival mechanisms. This is my coping strategy because I do love organization. I just don't actually like to do it. So if I put it off, it never happens, which is number two. I've especially learned that if I plan one semester at a time and thinking over the Christmas break, I'm going to plan the second semester. Yeah, never happens. Never, ever happens. So frankly, I do it all at once. I kind of make a big system, kind of grind to get it out really quickly during one of the weeks during the summer, just so it's over with. And I never have to think about organization again all year. This is not actually something I enjoy doing, to be honest. It's something I do, but I'm not one of those people that actually organize for the sake of organizing. That is not me. So if you guys don't know me yet, I just wanted to throw that out there. So don't think this is above you or beyond you, or frankly, something that it's for other people, because I am that other person. I'm that person who doesn't like to actually organize. If it was up to me, I would wake up when I felt like it. I'd go to sleep when I felt like it. I would follow no schedules whatsoever. That's just kind of how my brain goes. But my kids don't thrive in that kind of environment. As my kids, frankly, they need to structure. That helps them. So I've kind of been forced to be structured, even though that's not my natural inclination. Number 3 here, one of the reasons I type it in is because my handwriting is atrocious. Half the time I can't read what I wrote. So typing it's just easier for me. And when I first started doing this, I was handwriting every single one of, writing this out on a table and printing it out and handwriting all these little things in different boxes. And then I would get halfway through the year and I'd have no idea what in the world this said. I couldn't read my own handwriting. And then, frankly, then when you get behind, and let's say you're behind a week because everyone in the family got the flu, and then it messes up your dates, and that used to drive me nuts because I felt like I would have to re-handwrite every single form so it would be accurate, and it was just a mess. It was a total mess. So it kind of helps me keep organized throughout the year. It just saves me a lot of trouble. The other reason, number 4, I like this is because I've done all of my thinking about this, planning, all my kind of thought process. It's just done. And I really don't have to think throughout the year. I'm going to show you some extra things that I've done to kind of improve that and to keep me from having to think during the year. So literally, if you can see right here, frankly, so if you can see in the picture here, I have all my folders and my handouts are just done. I just whip out next week's folder and then I'm in. That's it. So it's just very, very simple. And again, all I have to do is just pick out the next thing and just do it. I don't have to I don't have to did I cover this? No, I've already got it done. So there's no thinking involved. And, moms, we don't have enough white space in our lives, to be honest. When you talk about borders and white space, and if you're in publishing, they always talk about leaving margin, literally, because if we jam too many words on one little page, a piece of paper, it's really harder for your brain to actually process. That's the whole point of margins to begin with, is to give your brain enough white space around the words so it's not too cluttered and you can actually read it. And frankly, that same concept works for our brains. So if I can do a bulk of planning all at once and then never have to think about it again, oh my gosh, do you realize that that's just going to save up white space in my brain so I can deal with other stuff? And that, frankly, has been a sanity saver, that in itself. So I'm not stressed about math because math is planned. I might have to adjust later, but math is planned, it's thought through. One of the other things that's been really great is I think by planning all of this out and having it set up an entire year in advance, Dad can jump in whenever he can, and he can be completely involved. We print out our spreadsheets. We hang them up on the wall. He can walk by at any time and see exactly what the kids are working on any given day. So, for example, when he had a day off last week, he just sat down with us and he was like, you know what, I'm taking homeschool today. And I'm like, go for it. And he sat here, he checked all the kids' work. He was reviewing math with them. He was jumping in doing science projects because he could literally see up on the wall, this is what we're doing. I didn't have to step in. I didn't have to tell him what to do. Ladies, that just never tends to go over well. So I'm not control freaking out on him. I'm not nagging. It's just there. And he knows what's there. Everybody knows what's there. It's public. It's on our main wall. So it's been really great because it's not about, hey, what are you doing in homeschool? He can see it, and he can see each thing being marked off, and he can see that we're making progress, and he can jump in and help out whenever he wants. Major, major godsend in our lives. And it's just been a massive support to me. So when I can tell him we're getting so far behind in science and, I can't do I'm just stuck on these projects. I don't have time. And he's like, lay the projects out for me. We will do project Saturday, and we'll do projects all day long Saturday until we catch up. And I can do that because it's just it's just done for me. So that has been magical, ladies, magical. And it makes him feel involved too, to be honest. You know how honestly, our husbands might feel left out. Well, that homeschool thing is that thing that they do. And when we first started talking about this was supposed to be a family thing, right? It's not the mom's thing, it's the family thing. So this does allow him to kind of feel involved as well. I've also found that this is a great way to kind of review and measure where we're at. So if, I ever get asked about progress goals, or if I need to kind of review where we're at in certain progress goals, my paperwork's done for me. So I can see if we've had to do the same math lesson 3 days in a row, well, obviously we're not getting that concept. So I can stop and go throw in an extra, maybe some videos or some Khan Academy or something like that to kind of work toward a specific goal. Or if I had a goal this year that, okay, we're going to learn typing, because that's actually one of my goals, is that this year we were going to learn how to like really type well on the computer so that we can get up our speed, because my kids are in middle school now, so papers and all that kind of stuff is becoming an issue. Well, if it's not on my calendar, obviously it's not getting done. So if I know I need to throw that in, and actually, we have some free time this afternoon, I can say, hey guys, why don't you go do 20 minutes on the typing tutor, because you haven't done that in a while. So it's really easy for me to kind of check progress and see where we're at with our various goals and our different ideas and that sort of thing. I will say number 8 and 9 are probably the biggest things for me personally. The fact that this is done, I don't have to think about it again. It's just one thing off my plate. So it's not constantly yelling in my background, oh my gosh, I never did organize that government section that we really wanted to do. So the year 2016, the year of the election, we did the fall semester. We focused on elections, obviously, because of the election. And we had a ton of fun doing the election package. But I never really found the perfect government curriculum for us to do the winter semester. So honestly, I should have planned that over the Christmas holidays, but I never really found that one thing I did that I wanted, and it works perfectly. So what happened is it never got done, first of all. But also in the back of my mind, all I could think about was like, don't forget to do this thing in the government. Don't forget to do this thing in government. And those little nagging voices in the back of your mind, frankly, that creates so much stress in my life, just having to remember stuff. But the fact that this was done, the fact that my entire school year for this year is already planned out, it's already been organized, that is one less thing I have to worry about. It's one less thing I have to stress about. And frankly, because I can see how much we're doing every single day and how much time it takes us, it's actually kept me quite realistic about what we can actually accomplish in a day and what plans and goals. So last year, for example, the 2017 to 2018 school year, I kind of over planned. I realized within just a couple of weeks, I'd bitten off far more than my kids could chew. So maybe I could do this, but really, we realized very quickly, one child is getting far bogged down because all of a sudden this is a lot more writing in one day than she can honestly handle. And we realized that and then all of a sudden we started realizing, writing in general, we're having issues just writing. And where is that coming from? So instantly, within just 3 or 4 weeks, I had to kind of rejigger everything and kind of move stuff around, because we kind of found a gap of learning, or we found a need that she had that we frankly just needed to deal with this need, this kind of learning need she had. And so other things did have to go on the back burner. So over time, and granted, this did not happen the first year, but over time, I kind of realized, this child is not being, she's getting her work done far too fast. So she's not being challenged enough. So I need to throw either some extra assignments or some harder assignments at her. This child is maybe being overwhelmed. And so I need to cut back here. And it was really easy for me to actually do that, because I'm not having to rewrite everything. I'm not having to scrap my plans and start from scratch. It's just some cutting, copying, and pasting on the computer. And it also has made it very easy for me when I have to kind of sit myself down and be more realistic about what we can actually accomplish. Or maybe it's quite possible to me when I see my spreadsheet is like 15 pages long for 1 week. Maybe I'm biting off more than we can chew. Maybe I'm not being realistic of what can get done in one day, and so on. So that's been very useful. And then finally, if you're in one of those states where you have to do a lot of reporting, you have to turn in portfolios, if you've ever had a concern or a worry, well, that maybe this is that time that, you know, somebody is going to call and do what I call audit me, but, you know, the state's going to come up and ask for proof of progress or something of that nature. You know, all those worst case scenario situations, you know, the horror stories of homeschooling. I don't worry about any of that because I've got weekly schedules of everything I've done for the past 8 years. And it's just laid out for me. And now that I'm not handwriting it all, I don't have to keep multiple pieces of paper. It's all saved in my computer under one Excel file. So if I ever needed that, I could instantly just go start printing stuff off and printing stuff off. So for example, when I actually we have speech pathologists we're working with on some of those language skills for one child. And she's like, well, what are you doing and what are you focusing on every day? It was really simple. I just bring out the books and I print off the spreadsheet for that week. I was like, well, for example, this is what we work on each week. And these are some of her assignments. And I made some copies. She was so blown away by how, quote unquote, I organized I was. She was like, oh my God, I've never seen anyone be this organized. I'm like, well, clearly you're hanging around the wrong people because I'm not that organized. And no one believes me because I've done all of this all at once. So this is just some of the reasons why I've moved to this kind of system. I've done the paper stuff. I've done the plan week by week. That does not work for my brain. I've planned the semester by semester. That has never really worked for me either. Or when it did, it only worked for part of the year. So all of a sudden, like I would plan like one unit of science, and then when that science gets done, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have to come up with something new. And it's like the middle of October and I'm busy with other stuff already, you know? So this has just been great. And I've loved this system and it works so well for me. And I keep telling other people to do this. And they don't listen. Some of the advice that I've gotten over and over as I homeschool about how to find the right curriculum for your child and the right curriculum for your family. First of all, and so I do have an article on my website, the first one here, that you can go to where I go into a lot more detail on that. So you can definitely check that out. And the different things that I've used in the past and that kind of fun stuff. But one of the big pitfalls people tend to have with homeschooling is they choose a type of learning style that does not work for their child's brain. And so then they blame homeschooling, not the curriculum itself. And of course, none of us want to spend money on curriculum or programs or things that don't work, and then you're stuck with it, and then you feel like you have to go buy another one. I've made that mistake before. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So doing some like maybe thought processes on your child's learning style is really, really important. I would also almost do this on myself as well as for you as the teacher, because one of the things we've realized in the past year and a half, and again, I've been doing this for 8 years, my children's learning style is the direct opposite of mine. So my teaching style does not work with their brain. The way I learned in the past, the way I kind of learn when I'm teaching myself is direct opposite of them. So learning about your child's learning style and also your learning style and your teaching style, you want your curriculum to match both of those, regardless of what you use. And I'm not here to promote a specific curriculum today, but regardless of what you use, that's really important. Another thing you really want to keep in mind are the laws in your state and the rules and the kind of regulations that you're going to have to abide by. And every single state is different. Some states are very difficult. Some states are very, very easy. And you just want to make sure you're abiding by whatever rules that you need to abide by in order to be successful there. And then in this getting started area, I've also just put a couple websites. These are not mine, by the way, and I get no money off these. I'm not affiliated with them at all. These are just literally the ones that I went to when I was like, okay, I want to homeschool. And I started Googling it. And these are the ones that literally helped me get started. So that's why I'm sharing them with you. Let's go a little bit more into when you're making curriculum decisions. And this picture is literally my office. And one summer when I was sitting down spreading out all of the stuff that I purchased and collected and bought, And again, this was the year that I tried to do elections and government in the same year. So everything's spread out on the floor and I'm trying to organize. If your office looks like this, you may be a homeschooler. If your front living room floor looks like this and everything's spread out all over the place, you may be a homeschooler. This is normal. So if you've gone through all of this, you've purchased curriculum and your floor looks like this, you're probably right about in the right place. Okay. Now down at the bottom here on the slide, these 4 steps, these are my personal tips of advice. Okay. Again, we're not talking about specific curriculum. We're just talking about process. And the first step in this for me is you got to choose what you want to use, right? I start this process in late spring because of homeschool convention season. And so I do try to do a lot of this process of what in the world do I want? What goals are we going to try to hit next year? What kind of things do we want to focus on before I go to convention or before I go to any conferences? Because I want to be on the lookout for specific things so I don't overspend. At least that's the idea, right? So first of all, one of the things you want to do if you are not new to homeschooling, if you have been homeschooling for even 1 year, is look back over your previous year and kind of evaluate for yourself what worked, what things worked really well for you, and what didn't work well for you. And I do recommend you kind of like review that every single year. I've been doing this for 8 years now, and every single year things change just a bit. Once you get one level figured out, then you're on to another level, so that's normal. But it's really easy, frankly, to look back and figure out exactly what doesn't work for me. Where do we get behind? What are the things that I wasn't happy with? Was there a curriculum that wasn't working for my kids and whatever? In fact, my younger one, who is technically 5th grade age, but doing 6th grade level work this year, she's already come to me and told me she's bored and she doesn't like her curriculum and she wants to do something different next year because this thing you bought, I can't stand it. I don't want to do it anymore, which is a shame because I don't know why she wants to do it. It's fabulous. I love it. I don't know why she doesn't love it, but it's not working for her. Mainly, it's not challenging enough. She's my kid. I cannot challenge enough. It's kind of crazy. So what things aren't working so that you can start looking ahead and figuring out what things will work. You need to know what you need to fix before you can fix it. Now, this isn't just curriculum. It could also be your organizational plan and how you're laying everything out. So we've adjusted the times of day that we do homeschool. We have adjusted the types of work, curriculums we've used. In fact, we used to do, because again, I work in homeschool at the same time. So I was doing homeschool all morning and then working all afternoon. And which was fine. But the older my kids have gotten, frankly, they want me involved less because they're tired of me telling them what to do. And then second of all, they want to do all of these other kind of extracurricular activities. We did sports and dance and music and all these extracurricular activities. And frankly, we could never do them because of my work schedule, because I was working till 5 o'clock every day. So I couldn't take them to that class at 3:30. And it was really messing up my work schedule. So we flipped it. And now, I work in the morning. My kids do all of their independent work in the morning, and the afternoons are free for us to do whatever, doctor's appointments, extracurricular activities, projects that they need my help on and stuff. That's all in the afternoons. So, think of, it can even be like where they're doing their schoolwork in the house. Now you can't see it in my office right now because I moved it, but there used to be a table right here behind my head. And they used to do all of their computer work right here at a table behind my head while I was on the phone with clients. But one of my children came to me over the summer and she's like, it's really distracting sitting there trying to do math and think about math while you're on the phone. It's very, very distracting. Can we move the computers? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so brilliant. Why didn't anyone tell me? Of course. And so because you can't see it, I moved a bookshelf up here and the table's downstairs and not in the living room now. So little things might be broken that are just going to make your life easier moving forward. And you always want to do that evaluation. The second step is you need to figure out your extracurricular and your outside activities first. And I know that seems completely backwards. However, for any of those of you who have your kids are highly involved in sports or any other time-consuming activity, those take up a lot of time, and that can frankly just jam up everything else you do. There was one year that my kids decided to both do swim, and we were doing swim team and swim lessons and swim practice 3 to 4 afternoons a week. A week, guys. Between my two kids, we were there 4 times a week. And they loved it, and I was happy that they loved it. But, 4 times a week, my goodness. And so if you've got kids in an activity that's going to be really time intensive, honestly, just go ahead and put that on your calendar first, okay? And that's what we're going to do today. Just get all of those dates as far as you can on the calendar now, early first, so you can work your homeschool curriculum around that, okay? So you're not planning really heavy book work on the same day that you have a swim meet, okay? That's all. So if your kids have regular activities and you know that, for example, our scouting group meets every Monday night, I know I'm going to have to cook dinner. I know we're going to have to leave at a certain time. We stop by lunch on Mondays. So I only plan for a half a day on Monday, and so on. So first of all, whatever your fun activities are, anything that's going to take you out of your house, whether that's your homeschool, if the local homeschool groups do the park day on Tuesday afternoons, don't schedule stuff on Tuesday afternoons. That sort of thing. Whatever you can do to make that easier on you is going to just make it easier on you. And I also want to recommend that you consider your need for sleep. And I know that sounds silly. However, I look at our kids' sleep schedule, and if there are those days that you have those late activities, make sure kids are getting enough sleep. This is one of the joys about homeschooling that we don't have to deal with when we are talking about public school. So if your kids are up late and my kids don't come in till like 9 o'clock because of scouting on Monday nights, well, they can sleep in a little bit on Tuesday mornings. That's cool with me. Can't do that if you're in public school, and that's one of the joys of homeschooling. So if you have certain days that are very heavy, do remember that they might be dragging a little bit the next day, so they might need a little bit of extra sleep. For example, Wednesday is our homeschool co-op day, and they're gone all day from 9 to 4. And then one of my children has church youth group on Wednesday nights, and she's getting home really late. And I'm telling you, that child needs her sleep. So Thursdays may be a slightly later start time for her, and that's cool, But I kind of plan with that in mind in advance. And then once you've kind of figured out, you're going to kind of plan the times and the days and things that you're going to do individual subjects and individual class times, but you're going to plan it around life. So if your kids have regular tutoring appointments, or like I mentioned, we're working with a speech pathologist on various things and issues, that's fine. I just don't schedule homeschool on that time, and I make sure we're out. So I kind of block those times mentally off of my calendar so I can do that. And then once all of that's done, then you start planning your homeschool and your curriculum work. So those are the kind of various steps we're going to be going through today.
Now, as we wrap up our episode today, I want to thank you all for listening in. There are a ton of great podcasts out there, but you chose to spend your time here with me, so thank you. In the show notes, you're going to find the links to my site, workingwhilehomeschooling.com, as well as my course, Planning and Organizing Your Entire Homeschool Year, and all of the other great ways that you can connect with me online. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please consider becoming one of our listener supporters by following the link in their show notes. A small monthly donation helps us continue with great content and interviews like you've heard here today on the Working While Homeschooling podcast. Your positive online reviews, subscribing to our podcast, and sharing it with your friends is greatly appreciated as well. And if you know someone that you think would be a great guest of our podcast, please let me know at julie@workingwhilehomeschooling.com. Thank you for listening in today. And please, everyone, make sure you join us in our Facebook group for continuing conversation on today's topic and beyond. I look forward to seeing each of you soon at our next podcast for Working While Homeschooling.